Welcome to Mr. Wizard's Workshop, episode 47, Embrace Boredom. It seems like kind of a strange topic. So last week's episode, number 46, Mr. Wizard's Workshop, was all about deep work from the book Deep Work, Newport. So what it is and why it's such a valuable skill to acquire. I'll post a link to that recording in the description of this week's recording in case you missed the episode. So the second half of the book is all about 4 different strategies for actually learning and practicing deep work for yourself. That is how to integrate the practice into your work life. Basic idea is just deciding that you want to work deeply isn't enough in and of itself. So the ability to concentrate intensely is actually a skill that needs to be trained. Most people think undistracted concentration is just a habit, like flossing, something you know how to do and know is good for you, but you've been neglecting due to a lack of motivation. This ignores the actual difficulty of focus and the hours of practice necessary to build this mental muscle. And any efforts to deepen your focus will struggle and probably fail if you don't simultaneously wean your mind from a dependence on distraction. Just a quick recap to something we've covered in workshops in the past, which is constant online attention switching has a lasting negative impact on your brain, your neurology. It actually rewires your brain, and there's a lot of research that clearly confirms that. Want to dive into the details of it, you can search on Clifford Nash. So in this age of networking tools, email, social media, SMS, the internet, and 24-hour access to them, people have been literally trained to be addicted to on-demand distraction. So if every moment of potential boredom in your life, like having to wait in line for 5 minutes or sit alone in a restaurant until a friend arrives, is relieved with a quick glance at your smartphone, then this would be a pretty clear example your brain has been rewired to a point where you're not ready to do deep work. Even if you actually schedule time to practice, once you are wired for distraction, you crave it. So one of the key tactics, or I say strategy from the deep work book is don't take breaks from distraction. Instead, take breaks from focus. So let's make the simplifying assumption. It's a little bit oversimplified, but it's a good way to start. The internet use in and of itself is synonymous to seeking distraction. Now, you can use the internet in a focused manner, but the default is pretty much distraction. So schedule in advance when you will use the internet and then avoid it altogether outside of those times. So the use of a distracting service does not by itself reduce your brain's ability to focus. It's the constant switching back and forth is the addictive part and the thing that really rewires your brain. So that's the strategy from the point of view of the book. Now, interestingly, this exact concept of embrace boredom has also come up in my mindfulness meditation practices. And if you're interested in a couple of people that I really like, Eckhart Tolle is one, Power of Now, and he's done several other books, and he does audio books and recordings, and also Jack Kornfield, who's a Buddhist, a psychologist, and also a Buddhist monk. So according to the Buddhist perspective, boredom arises due to the habit of the mind to label experiences as either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So boredom actually falls into the neutral category. It's simply a feeling being triggered. But Buddhism teaches there's never anything inherently boring in anything we're actually experiencing. And by becoming more interested and curious in what we are experiencing, it actually changes our brain patterns, and it helps us to see that anything we give our full attention to can be interesting. Boredom without curiosity is actually a rejection of the present moment. I don't like how things currently are. I want things to be different in the moment. Mindfulness, or boredom with curiosity, is actually an embrace of the present moment. So we determine what's boring and what's not boring with the level of interest, investigation, and curiosity we bring to life. Here's a quote from Blaise Pascal, which I've covered in the past, but it's good to revisit. All humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. So people mistakenly believe the antidote to boredom should be external, but actually the answer is always going inward. For example, once you learn how to meditate and get some practice in, you realize boredom is simply a failure to pay attention. Something as simple and repetitive as breathing can become a source of blissful contemplation. And that's one of the many mindfulness / Buddhist meditation practice, focusing and concentrating on the breathing. And if you actually do that, you'll discover that it can be very interesting. There's a lot of very subtle differences going on. It's not all, every breath is slightly different than every other breath. The feeling of boredom itself can become an object of, intense interest. When I'm standing in line at Walmart, when I'm shopping on Saturday, I tune in to my surroundings. I tune in to the feeling of boredom. A lot of times I might just drop into a breathing meditation. So you can't actually remain bored if you pay close attention to your experience in the present moment. So the action item for this week, it's another quiz. So this is multiple choice, and I'm asking you to think about and pick the answer which best described. I'm using email work as I'd say, not a surrogate, but a specific example of potentially shallow work which can be very distracting, which can cause you to constantly be task switch. Option A is I schedule my email work and stick to my schedule. That's 80 to 95% of the time. I put myself in that category. It's a practice I had in place for a while, and I did it pretty well. I'd say most of the time it's 90, 95%. Option B is I try to schedule my email work, but often get sucked into checking email outside of my scheduled block. C, I don't schedule time blocks to focus on email work because I don't think it's possible based on my individual circumstance. D would be I don't schedule time blocks to focus on email work because I never thought about doing it. And E would be I don't do it because I don't know how to do it. Quick question for you. So are you an entrepreneur who's highly motivated to improve your productivity, but you still struggle with procrastination and regularly find yourself neglecting your highest priority tasks? Then schedule a free 30-minute quick start to time blocking working session with me, and I'll know exactly how to beat procrastination and get your shit done. There's the link, and I'll also post it in the description of this week's video. So, hello, Gina. Hello, Morris. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, guys.
Hi.
We'll start with you, Gina. Which of the options for the quiz did you pick?
You don't have my option. I don't schedule email because I don't do it. That's my option. I tell you, I'll try scheduling email this week. I'll schedule it in and see how it works.
Were you saying you don't do email?
No. I don't schedule it because I just don't. Not that I'm unaware of it or that I don't think it's a good idea. Right. I think it is a good idea. I just don't. But I'm going to try it. I'll try scheduling an email for this week, and we'll see how it works.
So, Morris, which of the options you think best described you as far as email and scheduling?
Probably B.
Which was, I've already forgotten my choices.
It's like I have time where I check my emails, but I still get sucked into checking my emails.
Yep. Okay.
Outside of the block.
So have you noticed what triggers that? Maybe you just have an urge, let me go check and see an email, or you're expecting somebody to reach out to you, or what is it that kind of triggers that jumping in outside of your time block?
When I expect good news in my inbox. Like a new discovery call that you're excited to do, or a client question, or paid invoices. Those emails make me really happy.
Yep. So do you think there's any element of, at the particular moment when you do that, you're feeling kind of bored, wanting a dopamine hit?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure about the boredom, but yes, the dopamine hit for sure, because I'm expecting good news.
Kind of the other thing I'd be interested in just getting a little input on is this whole idea of embracing boredom as a productivity and personal development practice. Is that anybody is strange? Did this make sense? Or are you scratching your head going, why would I embrace boredom?
Go ahead, Gina.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not bored a whole lot, though. The only thing that I find boring is like doing financials and, that type of thing. That gets me bored. So I just kind of, schedule in things that are going to fill my day. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll pay attention this week, and I'll just notice when I get bored.
And what you do when you get bored, what actions, if anything, you take. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, going through financials is really, really hard for me. Yeah. But sometimes I get into the zone and I finish, like I get into it. Uh-huh. But yeah, I'll pay attention. I'll pay attention to boredom this week. So I I have two assignments. The first is to schedule my email.
Yep.
And the second is to pay attention to when I get bored.
So, Marshall, what's your thought on boredom and embracing boredom?
I think it's important. I've been trying to do this for many years,
Okay.
and I get bored a lot. So I guess there's different levels of boredom. So
Right.
I'll give you an example, right? Like when I remember when I started running many years ago. Like I've been very athletic. I did tons of sports, but like just running, like like you don't run with a football, you don't run with a team, you just go for a run. That was a very strange concept to me. And when I started running, if I go for a run, there needs to be music, right?
Right.
And because running without music is really boring, at least back then.
Right.
But now I don't remember when was the last time I ran with music, because you develop this relationship with your body, your breathing. You start to understand if you fuel your body with oxygen really well while running, guess what? You run faster, you run further if you focus on your technique, all these things. And that's what I mean, like with boredom, in the sense that was something really boring to me. But from the very start, I always knew that distracting myself, because I find running boring. And so I've always pushed myself to sit with the boredom of running. And now I love it. It's better. Definitely, like the other two examples, when I stand in line, I never take out my phone. When I have to wait for someone, I never take out my phone. When I'm in the train, I only read like a book, an actual book. I don't want to be on my phone, and it's not always easy, but I kind of try to sit there with the boredom, and I've always seen it as an important step in personal development.
The example you used in running, you actually reiterated one of the points I make, which is if you pay attention, if you really focus on and have, a curiosity and be present with what you're doing while you're bored, in your case, running, and the physical sensations, pretty much eliminates the boredom. It makes it interesting.
Yeah. Although, yeah.
So anybody got any other thoughts or observation on this week's topic?
No, just sit with boredom. The only thing I would add is that it also reminds me of sitting with emotions that you don't want to deal with.
Yes.
Like it goes for me in a similar path where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do taxes, I'm going to watch Netflix. No. Sit 10 minutes with that feeling of, I don't want to do taxes. And
Right.
You'll surprise yourself. It's a healthier way of dealing with it, and same with boredom.
And you're right. You can generalize that. So boredom is one of those three categories of emotions or feelings from the Buddhist perspective. It's kind of the neutral. Then there's the negative, and you can do the same thing, or it's productive to sit with those also, rather than just immediately running away from it, or running over and doing something like run over to Netflix or spin up a game to distract yourself. You can sit with it, and it's going to be a productive practice.
Harder than it sounds, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's hard. It's like, that's where the word practice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
agreed. It is a good topic, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks very much for joining, and have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see both of you guys sometime next week. Thanks for watching this video recording from my live weekly workshop. Every Sunday, I feature instantly actionable steps you can take to overcome procrastination, increase your productivity, and get your shit done. Followed up by Q&A and discussion with the live participants. I really hope you found this video useful and you feel like watching it was time well spent. Please post any questions or comments you have. I always answer posts. I'd appreciate it very much if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you know anyone that would enjoy and benefit from this particular episode, please send them the link. Stay productive, my friends.